The day the sky burned, 979 words. The colony on Arcturus Prime had been humanity's pride. 15,000 souls called it home. Scientists, engineers, families who'd crossed the void to build something new. Children played in biodomes where earth flowers bloomed under alien suns. Lovers walked hand in hand through streets that smelled of fresh bread and hope. Then the Krell came. Commander Sarah Chen was in the middle of her morning briefing aboard the Earth Defense Force carrier Indomitable when the distress signal came through. The transmission was chaos. Screaming, weapons fire, the distinctive whine of plasma cutting through metal and flesh alike. Everywhere. "They're killing everyone. Please, someone—" Then silence. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She'd grown up on Arcturus Prime. Her sister still lived there. Her niece had just turned 7. "Battle stations," she said quietly. Too quietly. Her XO, Marcus Webb, had served with her for 12 years. He recognized that tone. It was the voice she used right before she made decisions that changed everything. "Commander, we're 3 days out at maximum burn," Webb said carefully. "By the time we arrive—" "I know." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Send the alert. All Earth ships, any nation, any affiliation. Arcturus Prime is under attack." The response was immediate. Humanity had squabbled over resources, argued about borders in space, maintained the old rivalries that had plagued Earth for centuries. But when the footage came through, when every screen in human space showed the Krell systematically butchering civilians, when the galaxy watched children hunted through streets like animals, something ancient awakened in the human soul. The Chinese battlecruiser Long March changed course. The European Union's peacekeepers abandoned their patrol routes. Even the corporate security forces, usually concerned only with profit margins, turned their weapons toward a new enemy. Director James Harrison stood in the United Earth Council chambers watching the death toll climb. 15,000. Every single one. The Krell hadn't left survivors. They'd documented their work, broadcasted across known space like a warning, like a demonstration. "They want us to be afraid," Harrison said. Ambassador Yuki Tanaka nodded grimly. "They've miscalculated." The emergency session lasted 18 minutes. The vote was unanimous. Every nation, every corporation, every independent colony, all of it unified under a single banner for the first time in human history. The Terran War Council was born in blood and fury. Sarah's fleet reached Arcturus Prime 72 hours after the massacre. The colony was ash. The Krell had already moved on, confident, arrogant. They'd left sensor probes behind, probably to watch humanity mourn. Sarah ordered them destroyed. "Ma'am, we're receiving data from the probes before they went down," Webb reported. The Krell broadcasted their next targets. Taeti, New Bangalore, Atlas Station. Sarah studied the star charts. Each target housed between 5 and 20,000 humans. The Krell were systematic, efficient. They were exterminating humanity colony by colony, showing the galaxy what happened to species who expanded too boldly into claimed space. "They think we'll run," Sarah said. "They think we'll abandon the colonies, retreat to Earth, beg for mercy." "Will we?" Webb asked. Sarah thought of her sister, of a 7-year-old girl who loved strawberries and wanted to be an astronaut. She thought of 15,000 people who died believing Earth would protect them. "Send a message to all colonies," Sarah ordered. "Tell them we're coming. Tell them Earth never abandons its children." She pulled up the tactical display showing the vast distances between human settlements and the Krell's projected attack vectors. The math was brutal. Even with every ship humanity possessed, they couldn't defend everywhere. "We need time," Webb said. "Time to evacuate, time to fortify, time to build a real fleet. Then we buy time." Sarah highlighted the Krell fleet's trajectory. They were moving through the Helios Nebula, a region of dense stellar matter that interfered with sensors and communications. Confident predators they weren't even trying to hide. "We take the fight to them." Webb's eyes widened. "Commander, we're one carrier group. Intelligence estimates the Krell fleet at 40 capital ships minimum. This would be suicide." Sarah smiled without humor. "Maybe, but it'll be loud, and it'll give every human colony time to prepare." She turned to face her XO directly. "Marcus, humanity just learned we're not alone in the universe. We learned it the hardest way possible. Now we need to teach the galaxy something about us." "What's that, ma'am?" "That we don't break." Sarah activated the fleet-wide channel. Faces appeared on screens throughout the ship. Young faces, old faces, every color and creed that humanity encompassed. People who'd volunteered to stand between the darkness and home. This is Commander Chen to all vessels. You've seen what the Krell did. You know what they plan to do next. I won't lie to you, the odds are against us. But we're not fighting for odds. We're fighting for every human who looks at the stars and dreams of what's out there. We're fighting for the children who'll never get to grow up unless we stand between them and monsters. She paused, letting the weight settle. The Krell wanted to teach the galaxy fear. Let's teach them something else. Let's teach them that humanity remembers, that we stand together, and that when you hurt us, we don't run, we come for you with everything we have. The response was immediate, a roar of approval from 5,000 throats across 7 ships. Sarah checked the calculations one more time. 3 days to intercept. 3 days to prepare for a battle they probably couldn't win, but they'd make the Krell remember it. The Krell warship, Sovereign Talon, drifted through the Helios Nebula like a predator that had already eaten its fill. War Commander Zexcal reviewed the footage from Arcturus Prime for the 3rd time, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. The humans had been so fragile, so slow. The way they'd tried to protect their young had been particularly entertaining. War Commander, we're detecting anomalies in the nebula's outer edge, his sensor officer reported. Electromagnetic interference consistent with primitive fusion drives. Zexcal barely glanced at the display. Human scouts. Let them watch. Let them report what we've done. Fear is as effective as any weapon. Should we pursue? Why waste ammunition? They'll flee back to their breeding worlds and spread terror. It serves our purpose. What Zexcal didn't know, what the Krell's superior sensors had missed in the nebula's interference, was that those weren't scouts. Commander Sarah, Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the Krell fleet drift into position. 43 capital ships, just as intelligence had estimated. Each one capable of glassing a planet. Her fleet numbered 7 ships. They haven't detected us yet, Webb reported. The nebula's playing hell with their sensors just like we hoped. Sarah studied the enemy formation. Arrogant, spread out. They weren't even maintaining combat spacing.
Why would they?
As far as the Krell knew, humanity didn't have the courage to strike back. All ships prepare firing solution Omega, Sarah ordered. Wait for my mark. Lieutenant Dmitry Volkov manned the weapons console, his hands steady despite knowing what came next. Behind him, Engineer Park Ji-woo had worked 30 hours straight modifying their torpedo payloads. Beside him, Navigator Amara Okafor had plotted their escape route down to the millisecond. 1 crew. 7 ships, the entire future of humanity riding on the next 5 minutes. Targeting solutions locked, Volkov reported. Fire. The nebula lit up like a dying star. 32 torpedoes, every weapon 7 ships could fire in a single salvo, streaked through the interference and slammed into the Krell fleet. Park's modifications worked perfectly. The warheads penetrated shields designed to stop kinetic impacts, not weapons that phased through their primary frequency. 3 Krell capital ships exploded instantly. 4 more began venting atmosphere, their hulls cracked like eggs. Second salvo away, Volkov shouted. On the Sovereign Talon, Zexcal's world transformed from predatory satisfaction to disbelieving rage in the span of a heartbeat. Alarms screamed. Crew members died at their stations as human torpedoes tore through bulkheads. Return fire. All vessels, combat formation. Find them. But the humans were already moving. Sarah's fleet dove deeper into the nebula, using the interference that had hidden their approach to mask their retreat. Krell plasma beams cut through space where they'd been seconds before, hitting nothing but stellar gas and debris. They're pursuing, Webb reported. 20 ships breaking off to chase us. Good. Sarah allowed herself a tight smile. That's 20 ships not massacring colonists. Amara, execute evasion pattern Delta 3. The Indomitable twisted through the nebula like a fish in a coral reef, using dense matter clouds and radiation pockets to break targeting locks. Behind her, the rest of the fleet scattered according to plan. 7 ships becoming 7 separate headaches for the Krell to track. For 8 hours, they played a deadly game of cat and mouse. The Krell were faster, better armed, more numerous. But Sarah and her crew knew something the Krell didn't. Desperation makes you creative, another one. Volkov crowed as a Krell destroyer, lured into a radiation pocket, lost its shields long enough for the Chinese battlecruiser Long March to deliver a killing blow. But the victories came at a cost. Phoenix is hit, Webb reported. They're venting atmosphere, engines failing. Tell Captain Rodriguez to get his people to the escape pods, Sarah ordered, her voice betraying none of the grief twisting in her chest. All ships continue evasion. We can't stop to help. The European frigate Phoenix died buying her crew 30 seconds to evacuate. Only half made it. The running battle raged for 2 days. Sarah's fleet, always moving, always striking from unexpected angles, used every trick human naval warfare had developed in 500 years. They mined asteroid fields, rigged debris to explode, led Krell ships into unstable regions where stellar phenomena did half their work for them. But slowly, inevitably, the noose tightened. We're down to 4 ships, Webb reported grimly. Ammunition at 15%. The Krell are adapting to our tactics. Sarah checked the chronometer. 47 hours since first engagement. 47 hours that humanity's colonies had used to evacuate civilians, fortify defenses, and prepare. 47 hours purchased in blood. It's enough, she said quietly. Send the withdrawal signal. All ships rendezvous point Gamma, we're going home. But Jexkal wasn't finished. The war commander had lost 11 ships to 7 human vessels. 11 ships! His reputation was in tatters. His superiors would demand explanations. And worse, much worse, he'd learned something terrifying. Humans didn't fight like prey. They fought like something that remembered being predators. Track their trajectory, he snarled. I want to know where they're running. They're heading toward the Taeti system, War Commander. One of their colony worlds. Jexkal's mandibles spread in what passed for a Krell smile. Then we'll finish what we started. Signal the main fleet. We'll make an example of Taeti that will haunt them for generations. Sarah watched the Krell fleet adjust course, following her retreat exactly as planned. They took the bait, she said. Webb nodded slowly, beginning to understand. Taeti's been evacuated for 36 hours. Every civilian is gone. Every civilian, Sarah confirmed. But someone's still there. Someone who's been waiting for the Krell to come. She thought of Director Harrison's last transmission, of the resources Earth had poured into Taeti in the days since Arcturus Prime. The Krell thought they were chasing broken prey home to die. They were wrong. The Taeti system looked dead. War Commander. Jexkal surveyed the human colony world through his flagship's view screens, mandibles clicking with anticipation. The orbital stations were dark. No defensive platforms, no patrol craft, no desperate transmissions begging for mercy. They abandoned it. His tactical officer reported. The entire colony is empty. Cowards. Jexkal felt a mixture of satisfaction and disappointment. He'd wanted the humans to stand and fight, to watch their faces when they realized resistance was futile. Begin bombardment anyway. Glass the surface. Let the galaxy see what happens when species defy the Krell. Dominion. His fleet of 32 capital ships, all that remained of the force that had left Arcturus. Prime moved into orbital bombardment. Formation. Then the moon opened fire. Admiral James Harrison stood in the command center humanity had carved, into Taeti's largest moon, watching his display light up with weapons fire. 300 rail cannons, 60 missile batteries, and enough nuclear-tipped torpedoes to crack a continent, all hidden beneath the lunar surface, all waiting for this moment. Fire everything, Harrison ordered. The Krell fleet scattered like startled fish, but they were in close formation for bombardment, not combat. The first salvo caught them completely exposed. 5 capital ships died before they could even raise shields. Sir, multiple contacts dropping from hyperspace. The sensor officer's voice carried electric excitement. It's everyone. They all came. Harrison felt his throat tighten as the display populated with friendly contacts. The Chinese fleet, led by Admiral Zhao's massive dreadnought Mandate of Heaven, the European Coalition's carrier group, Indian warships, Brazilian destroyers, ships from every nation on Earth, every corporation with military assets, every independent colony that could spare a vessel. For the first time in human history, they came not as separate powers but as one fleet, one species, one voice saying, enough. Commander Sarah Chen's indomitable, battered but unbroken, led the vanguard. Her 3 remaining ships had been the bait, the sacrifice that lured the Krell into humanity's trap. Now they were the hammer, and Earth's fleet behind them was the anvil. All ships, weapons free, Harrison transmitted. Show them what happens when you make humanity angry. The battle was brutal. The Krell were experienced warriors who'd conquered a dozen species, but those species had fought separately, divided by politics and pride. Humanity fought with the focused fury of every person who'd watched loved ones die on Arcturus Prime. Lieutenant Volkov's fingers flew across his weapons console, targeting solutions appearing faster than he could fire. Beside him, Park Ji-woo rerouted power from failing systems, keeping weapons online through damage that should have crippled them. Navigator Okafor dodged plasma beams with maneuvers that violated 3 laws of physics and several safety regulations. Direct hit on the Krell flagship, someone shouted. Sarah watched the Sovereign Talon stagger under concentrated fire from the Chinese dreadnought and 2 Indian cruisers. Shields failed. Armor cracked. For a moment she thought of Jexkal inside, the creature who'd orchestrated the slaughter of 15,000 humans. Target their engines, she ordered coldly. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Jexkal's world had become fire and chaos. Half his crew was dead. The flagship was dying around him. And everywhere he looked there were human ships, hundreds of them, moving with precision that suggested unified command, fighting with a fury that suggested personal vendetta. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Humans were supposed to be weak, divided, easily cowed. But looking at the armada that had gathered to destroy him, Jexkal finally understood. Humanity wasn't strong because they were unified. They were unified because they'd become strong. Adversity hadn't broken them. It had forged them into something the Krell had never faced. A species that learned from pain instead of breaking under it. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 31 Krell capital ships were destroyed or captured. Only one, the Sovereign Talon, crippled and helpless, remained intact. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on Jexkal's screens. The human looked tired, older than his years, carrying the weight of thousands dead and thousands more who would die in the wars to come. War Commander Jexkal, Harrison said, his voice carrying across space to every Krell survivor. Your superiors wanted to teach humanity fear. Instead, you've taught us unity. You've reminded us that we're stronger together than apart, and you've made us remember something we'd almost forgotten. That sometimes the only answer to cruelty is overwhelming force. Jexkal said nothing. What could he say? You're going to return to the Krell Dominion, Harrison continued. You're going to tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that humanity counted its dead, remembered every name, and swore an oath that no human would ever die alone and afraid again. Harrison leaned forward, and in his eyes Jexkal saw something that made his blood run cold. Not rage, not hate, but the absolute certainty of someone who'd made a choice and would see it through no matter the cost. Tell them that Earth has awakened. Tell them we're coming for every species you've conquered, every world you've enslaved. Tell them that humanity doesn't start wars, but we finish them. Harrison's image vanished. The Sovereign Talon was released, engines barely functional, limping toward Krell space with its cargo of survivors and warnings. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the fleet assembled around her. Ships from every corner of human civilization united by grief and purpose. What now, Commander? Webb asked quietly. Sarah thought of her sister, her niece, 15,000 souls who'd gone into the void seeking a better future and found only death. Now we make sure they didn't die for nothing, she said. Now we build something that can protect every human who dares to dream of stars. She looked at Earth, hanging blue and beautiful in the darkness, home to 8 billion people who'd just learned they weren't alone, and they'd learned they were survivors. Now, Sarah said softly, we show the galaxy what humanity really is. Behind her, across 1,000 ships and 1,000,000 souls, humanity's answer echoed through the void. We remember, we unite, we endure, and we never ever forgive.